All right, so today we're diving into something really fascinating, Rosicrucianism. And before you think, oh no, not dusty old books again, this is about you. Like, really about you.
Yeah, it's about how every little choice we make shapes who we are.
I like that. Shapes who we are. But I think it's even more than that. It's like our energy, our destiny even, are we really creating those with every decision?
Right. We're talking subtle body stuff here and how our thoughts, feelings, everything goes into shaping it.
It's a lot to take in, which is why we're tapping into the mind of Dr. Robert Gilbert. I mean, talk
Mm.
about a life story, Marine Corps, nuclear warfare, and then, bam, mysticism.
You can't make this stuff up. It really makes you wonder, what was that turning point?
For sure. And one of the things that really resonated with me was he talked about how there's so much self-help info out there, right?
Yeah, overload.
Total overload. But he said it's just knowing stuff. That's not enough.
It's how you apply it. Like, how do we actually transform ourselves?
Exactly, because it's easy to get stuck in that information loop. But then what? Where do we even begin to put it into practice?
Well, there's this core Rosicrucian principle. Wisdom lies solely in truth.
Okay, sounds good on paper. But what does that even mean in our day-to-day lives?
It means being radically honest, starting with ourselves. Are we really living authentically?
Ooh, good question. True to ourselves, to our values.
And then that honesty, it has to extend outward too, how we interact with everyone else.
So no more pretending to be someone we're not, like both online and offline.
Exactly. Cause that pretending, that inauthenticity, it creates this dissonance in our energy.
Dissonance. Okay, I like that. So it's like messing with our resonance. Can you explain what resonance means in this sense?
It's like when things are harmonious, they resonate at the same frequency, right? So when we're in tune with ourselves, our energy resonates clearly. We can connect with our intuition.
It's like tuning into a radio station. If you're on the wrong frequency, all you get is static.
Mm.
And that makes me think about Dr. Gilbert's journey. He talked about these karmic impulses, almost like he was drawn to certain experiences.
Yeah.
Like echoes from past lives were guiding him.
Yeah, he talked about feeling drawn to places, skills, people, like rediscovering hidden talents from other lifetimes.
Okay, that's a bit eerie, but also kind of exciting. So how do we know if it's a real karmic impulse or just us, being random?
That's where paying attention to what truly resonates with us is key. And that's why Gilbert emphasizes creating a vision space, time for deep listening. Yeah, it's about creating that space to really listen to our intuition, our inner wisdom, away from all the noise of everyday life.
Hitting the pause button, so to speak.
Exactly. And Gilbert actually compares it to that scene in Dune, where Paul drinks the water of life.
Oh, yeah, and gets that expanded awareness.
Right. And this vision space, it's about accessing that deeper understanding of ourselves.
Speaking of Dune, I remember that line about dreams are messages from the deep. Gilbert had a practice for decoding those messages, didn't he?
He did. It's called the backward review exercise. So before you go to sleep, you replay the day, but in reverse.
Okay, so not just how it happened, but going back through it.
Exactly. You're looking for those cause and effect moments, like, because this happened, I reacted this way.
So instead of meeting, then lunch, it's rushed after the meeting, so I grabbed a quick unhealthy lunch.
Precisely. It's amazing what you start to see when you examine your day in reverse. Missed opportunities, those sliding door moments.
It's like becoming more aware of the choices we're making,
Yeah.
even the subtle ones. He also talked about that time right after you wake up, right?
Oh, yeah, that's crucial. That hazy, dreamlike state. He said it's a gold mine, but those insights vanish quickly.
Makes sense. So stay in bed for a bit, try to capture them.
At least 15 minutes, he recommended.
Good advice. Though I'll admit I'm often tempted to jump right into the day. So we're creating this vision space, paying attention to our dreams. But how does it all connect to actually shaping our subtle body, our energy?
Well, that's where the 6 essential exercises come in. And Gilbert didn't see these as, just helpful tips.
More like essential practices.
Exactly. Foundational for real spiritual growth, especially in today's world.
Which is saying something. So what are they? How do we work with our energy in this way?
It's a two-part process: observation and direction. First, we simply observe our thoughts, feelings, impulses without judgment.
So if I'm freaking out about a presentation, I don't get mad at myself for being anxious.
Exactly. Just notice it. Then, once you're aware of the pattern, you can consciously direct that energy.
So instead of, I'm going to mess this up,
Yeah.
I could focus on, how can I make this presentation amazing?
Yes. He often used the analogy of tuning a musical instrument. First, you identify the off-key notes, then adjust them.
It's interesting how this idea of energy connects with what we know about the mind-body connection, too. Stress manifesting as illness, for example.
Absolutely. Gilbert even talked about the Cancer personality, the idea that emotional patterns can impact physical health.
It's all connected, isn't it? And speaking of connections, this is where things get really fascinating, sacred geometry.
The language of creation.
It sounds kind of out there, but I like how Dr. Gilbert explained it. Not some abstract thing, but like the building blocks of existence.
He believed that everything, from the tiniest atom to the entire cosmos, is a manifestation of sacred geometry.
Okay, now that's mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
are you saying we can learn to work with these patterns, like consciously?
Exactly. Shape our reality with them. And the best part is we don't have to look far for examples. Look at nature. Snowflakes, sunflowers,
Seashells, even. There are those spirals, those patterns.
all expressions of sacred geometry. And modern science is catching on too. The structure of molecules, for instance.
Wait, so you're saying chemistry is like sacred geometry on a microscopic level?
Precisely. Or take psychedelics, they've found a way to make sound visible through the patterns it creates.
Hold on, you can see sound. How does that even work?
So they have these plates that vibrate at certain frequencies, sprinkle some powder on them, and the sound waves create these incredible geometric shapes.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like sacred geometry bridges that gap between what we can and can't see. And speaking of cool connections, Dr. Gilbert said some pretty interesting things about the number 12.
Right. It pops up everywhere. 12 disciples, zodiac signs, even divisions of the human body.
It's more than just coincidence then. What's the significance?
Well, Gilbert connected it to the dodecahedron, one of the 5 Platonic solids. It's got 12 faces and represents the energy of creation.
Fascinating. So this shape, it's like a key to understanding the universe.
It's a potent symbol, for sure. And Rudolf Steiner, the Rosicrucian scholar, he took this idea even further. He said 12 groups of 12 people, all spiritually aligned, could actually change the destiny of the planet.
12 groups of 12, wow. But with all the chaos in the world right now, it's kind of hard to imagine that happening. Where do we even start?
Gilbert believed it starts with each of us understanding our karmic contract, that unique purpose we have.
So not waiting for some big external event, but changing from within. But how do we figure out what our karmic contract even is?
It can be simpler than you think. Look at your comparative advantages, the things you're naturally drawn to, the things that come easily to you.
Like some people are great organizers, others are amazing communicators.
Exactly. Those passions, those talents, they're often clues to the gifts you brought into this lifetime. The next step is figuring out how to use them to serve something bigger than yourself.
So it's not necessarily about finding some massive world-changing mission, but just aligning our everyday actions with that calling.
You got it. And that's actually where Gilbert's work with the Vesica Institute comes in. He wanted to bridge that gap between spiritual knowledge and our own personal journeys.
Because it's one thing to read about this stuff, but actually applying it to your life is a whole other story.
Totally. He used to say so many people are up to their asses in alligators, they forgot they came to drain the swamp. Like, we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget about the bigger picture.
We lose sight of our own internal compass.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. He believed that a lot of people aren't living up to their karmic contracts. He saw it as a potential crisis, not in a doomsday kind of way, but more like, we're capable of so much more, but we need to wake up and remember why we're here.
It's like finding your groove.
Exactly. And that energy, that purpose you're tapping into, it spreads. Gilbert used to quote Martin Luther, "Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war."
Wow, that's intense. So it's not just about finding our own path, but like connecting with others who are also working towards something good, something more.
Yeah, it's that ripple effect. Finding your tribe, the people who get it, who share those values. That's how we create real change.
And that sense of community, that shared purpose, that's got to be what keeps you going when things get tough, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting. Gilbert actually saw podcasts as part of that collective awakening, too.
Because it creates that space for people to realize, hey, I'm not alone in this.
Exactly. And that's what we've tried to do here today with this deep dive, create a space for you listening to connect with these ideas.
Because knowledge is only powerful if you actually do something with it.
Yeah.
Right? All this stuff about the subtle body, sacred geometry, finding your purpose is not just theory.
It's about real transformation, a new way of seeing your life.
So as you go through the rest of your day, your week, just start to notice, are you living in alignment with your truth? Are you using your gifts, even in small ways?
And if you're feeling lost, remember what Gilbert said. Pay attention to those karmic impulses, those intuitive nudges. Get quiet, listen. You have a purpose, and the world needs what you bring to the table.
You matter. Don't underestimate your own potential.
And like Gilbert always said, time is precious. Don't wait for permission to start living your purpose. Start now. What's one small step you can take today?
Because who knows, that one step could set incredible things in motion.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing?
It really would. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What small action would you take today to step onto your dharmic path? Until next time, keep exploring those wonders within and all around you.